Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is ReapeeRon, and today we're going to be doing another Deep Rock Galactic guide. This is to the Deep Core 40mm PGL, the grenade launcher that Engineer has. This is their first secondary weapon. For this, I will be using the site once again, karl.gg/build. This is where you can build whatever builds you want, do some theory crafting, learn what your overclocks do. Speaking about overclocks, just like the rest of my videos, up to this point, I will not be talking about overclocks, just the base kit of the weapons. Overclocks change the weapon a lot, so we're going to be going through 2 or 3 builds. You can actually build the grenade launcher quite a few ways because there's not really a wrong way to build it. Most of their skills are actually quite good as compared to some of the other weapons that might have, one really outstanding skill and then 2 kind of mediocre skills. The grenade launcher has pretty consistent skills all the way down. So starting at tier 1, we have the fragmentary shells. This gives you 1 meter of AoE radius. So you just make a bigger hole when you blow something up. Pretty good. Nothing really to complain about there. We also have extra ammo. This gives you 2 more shots, which is a good amount for the grenade launcher since you only start out with 8. Going up to 10 is kind of nice. Makes it so when you resupply, you don't get 4, you get 5 grenades now. And we have HE compound. This makes it so you get 15 more area damage when your grenade goes off. So you do more damage, which is also pretty nice. For our first build, I would recommend just going with more ammo. That way you can use your grenades more often. And you can kind of use your grenade launcher more liberally than you normally would. You don't have to save it for special occasions. At tier 2, we also have expanded ammo bags. This gives you 3 more ammo, so you go up to 13, at least with this build. Otherwise, you'd go up to 11. Larger payload. This gives you 20 more area damage, so you do more damage with your grenade launcher. And then we've got high velocity grenades. This increases the projectile speed by 180%. So your grenade flies much faster to the target, which can also be a good thing if you're trying to fire the grenade launcher at any sort of distance. In certain maps where there's large cave systems, you might want to try to fire a grenade into a large group of enemies right away just so that you can soften it up before it gets close to your team for them to take it out. It makes it much easier for you to actually land your grenade much more accurately than it normally would be. It does take getting used to, though, especially if you've just been using the regular grenade launcher at the 100%. For the first build, I would once again recommend going with more ammo, just so that we have more ammo, so that we can use our grenade launcher even more, blow up more crowds, blow up more big enemies, and get more ammo back from the resupply. In tier 3, we have incendiary compound. This makes it so you lose 50% of your direct damage and armor damage, and it's converted to heat, which will ignite enemies, doing 13.3 repeating damage per second. This one is interesting. You can run it with this if you just want to use it purely against crowds. It doesn't work as well against large enemies. And then you have more of a specialized crowd killing weapon, which you arguably don't need with Engineer because you already have your LMG turrets. You already have your shotgun or submachine gun. So this one's not bad. Especially with certain overclocks, it's really not that bad. But in the base one, I usually don't take it if I'm not running overclocks. Instead, I usually go with Pressure Away, which gives you 500% more armor breaking. So if you hit an enemy, if you hit an armored enemy directly, you're going to do a lot of damage to it. This really helps against anything big and just makes your grenade launcher even better against big enemies. And that's usually what I would recommend going with when going with the grenade launcher without overclocks. Once again, you could go with the incendiary compound. It can be quite useful. I have used it plenty of times. It can be most useful if you have teammates that synergize well with the fire. So if people are running weapons that get bonus damage when things are on fire, like the Engineer's pistol, for example, or the Driller's pistol, for example, then it can work. It can work out decently well. But if not, you're just playing with randoms, or if you just want to do more damage to a heavy armored thing, I would just recommend going with the Pressure Wave. In tier 4, we have Homebrew Explosive. This makes it so that you have a random amount of damage every time you shoot, between 80% of your, said damage, and up to 140% of your said damage. So you can do more damage, but you can also do less damage. On average, you'll get 10% bonus damage with this, which is not bad. And there's usually not a whole lot of targets that you're going to either be able to one-shot or where you have to 2-shot guaranteed with the grenade launcher. Usually you'll be able to kill most small enemies with 1 shot, so long as your grenade is close enough to them, and you will have to hit larger enemies multiple times with the grenade launcher to kill them. So randomizing your damage honestly doesn't hurt the grenade launcher all that much, and it can help it in certain instances. Homebrew powder can be kind of iffy on different classes. It comes up in a lot of overclocks. And with certain classes, it feels really unnecessary, like you're just kind of using up your overclocked spot and it's not doing a whole lot for you. With the grenade launcher, it's fine. It'll generally give you more damage, which is nice, and you might be able to get a couple more kills, at least further away than you normally would be able to if you get lucky and high roll the hit. If you low roll the hit, then it would probably be the same as if you weren't going to kill him anyway and you just missed out on a little bit of damage. So it's not that big a deal to go with Homebrew Explosive. We also have Nails plus Tape. This gives you 1 more meter of effective radius. Pretty nice. You just have a bigger explosion radius. And then we have Concussive Blast, which makes it so stun creatures within the blast radius for 3 seconds. This can also be pretty useful, and I switch between, at least on this build, I switch between stun and randomized damage. Randomized damage, like I said, can high roll a couple hits. If it low rolls, it's not that big a deal because it's even if it low rolls, it'll likely kill small stuff and still won't kill big stuff. If it high rolls, there's a chance it might kill big stuff. With stun, you have a more consistent grenade every time because you can stun a group of enemies and then run away, assuming it didn't kill them. You can stun large enemies and potentially move away as well. Stunning enemies is pretty useful for Engineer because you don't have any additional mobility like a lot of the other classes where you could, grapple away if you're Scout or drill away if you're Driller, or even throw up your shield if you're Gunner. With Engineer, you just kind of got to book it if you want to get away from enemies. So stun isn't a bad choice either. Either one of these, great choice for this build. And then in tier 5, we have Proximity Trigger. Proximity Trigger is kind of a weird one because I would think that it would automatically either let you trigger something or set up grenades for anything to walk across and to kill them. That's not exactly how it works. This makes it so when you fire a grenade that passes within 2 meters of enemies will detonate after 0.1 seconds. If it doesn't pass any enemies, then it will automatically detonate when it stops. If you fire it a little bit wide, you don't hit it, you don't get it near any enemies, it can just bounce off the wall and go and explode somewhere and do virtually nothing. If you fire it close and there's enemies nearby, you can injure yourself or injure allies. You can time it quite well if you see hordes coming and you're paying a lot of attention, especially if you got your sentry guns out and they're pointing out where enemies are. Then you can lob it pretty close to where the enemies are kind of crawling in and then have it detonate pretty effectively. And when it does that, it's not that bad. Honestly, though, I don't really use this one because it's just easier for me to either hit right next to an enemy and do the majority of the damage or just shoot the enemy directly. Even if it's at longer ranges, it's still not that difficult to aim the grenade launcher and hit stuff. This is for people that want to, quickly get on target and quickly shoot. And for that, it can work because you don't have to be all that accurate. It's pretty forgiving then. For anybody that has pretty good aim or anybody that takes their time to aim, you really don't need this one. It is kind of a fun one to play around with, though, I will say. And then we have Spiky Grenade, which I usually take this one because this is just 60 direct damage to the target when you impact the grenade directly. I usually try to hit enemies directly with the grenade so I can do the most amount of damage to them. So this is the first build that I would recommend, which is just going more ammo, armor breaking, either stun or randomized damage. It's your call. And then just more damage. So this is just kind of my general purpose grenade launcher that I usually go for. Just so that I can use it more often against multiple enemies. If I want to go for a more damaging grenade launcher, then if I'm just going for damaging grenade launcher, I'll take more damage, or potentially higher velocity rounds if I really want to hit things from long range. Armor breaking, randomized damage, and then Spiky Grenade. This just lets me hit something as hard as I possibly can and try to kill large enemies. And it's pretty good for that. This build works really well if you're running Born Ready as your passive skill. That way you can quickly pull out your grenade launcher, fire it, and hit something big, then go back to either your shotgun or submachine gun, start firing at stuff. And then within 5 seconds, you'll have your grenade launcher reloaded. Or even if it's on a lower tier of Born Ready, you can still get it up fairly quickly. So this one, just powerhouse grenade launcher. And then, of course, you could also go with Aoe Grenade Launcher, which that one's pretty fun too. I have used that one a few times, which is just going with larger radius, more ammo, fire rounds this time because you're just trying to inflict as much damage to as many enemies as possible. You could go once again with armor piercing rounds. That works perfectly fine. More area of effect, and then either spiky grenades or the proximity trigger. I'd probably recommend proximity trigger on this, just so that it's a little bit easier for you to hit targets, and there's much more forgiveness in the range. So this is more just kind of firing out like Molotovs or incendiary grenades on the area. Think kind of like Gunner's incendiary grenade. It functions similar to that. So yeah, I'm pretty glad to say that the grenade launcher is pretty great at building it however you want. It's very forgiving. If you want to mix things up, you certainly can, and it should work just fine. It has some of the funnest overclocks in the game, which when we talk about overclocks, we'll get to that, because I think I've actually got to try all of the grenade launcher's overclocks, and they are really cool. Next time we're going to be talking about the Scout's Boomstick, which that one is another amazing secondary weapon. I really enjoy it, and that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so very much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing. That way you get notifications whenever I post anything live. And I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to all of you guys next time. Until then, stay cool, and bye.